So the article I'm looking at today is called Perceptions in Pedagogy, Exploring the Beliefs and Practices of an Effective Primary Science Teacher. This is in line with my current topic, which is the effective teacher for students in poverty in a rural to semi-rural environment. So I wanted to look at what an effective teacher looks like in science, and especially in the early grades. So this study was done in Australia, and it focused on one of 4 teachers who were nominated as effective science teachers by a professional colleague. The focus was on Deanne, which was a pseudonym. Deanne had 25 years of total experience. This used a pilot case study methodology, unfortunately, which is more qualitative than quantitative because it includes beliefs and practices. These were measured through classroom observations and interviews. They observed 2 100-minute science lessons, and several interviews and emails were used. The focus is what effective science teachers are doing and what are the beliefs and practices for one effective science teacher. Again, limited to only one in this study. There's problems associated with what counts or how to define effective teaching because there's a lack of consensus on what an effective teacher is. So what one of the authors stated was that we are not able to define what a good teacher is. So basically we can define it any way we like, if it makes sense. So it's very broad, which is another reason I'm trying to look at what effective means. The last bullet mentions what context. So again, I'm looking at students in poverty versus students in a more affluent environment. I'm looking at rural and semi-rural areas, which was the topic brought up in one of the other videos, versus cities or more urban, suburban areas. There are 6 themes and beliefs and practices regarding science teaching and learning. This is, remember, for the primary grades, so it may look a little bit differently for middle and high school, but they suggest a science-rich, science-friendly learning environment, variety of classroom activities, explicit teaching of science skills and concepts, teaching in concrete ways, and preparing students for future science learning. Developing personal science knowledge on the part of the teacher is also important. For example, I know in the lower grades, we honestly have to explicitly teach some skills and concepts while at the same time allowing children to explore and use inquiry practices. So the emergent themes in terms of beliefs and practices focus on a relevant curriculum, active engagement, assisting students to develop meaningful conceptual understanding, development of community links, such as through the use of visiting guest speakers, using technology. However, it mentioned the article mentions no use of assessment. No assessment practices were observed. So that does not mean that one is more effective. Implications made by Deanne. So Deanne was interviewed, and she suggested for primary teachers that there was a need for greater coverage of science in pre-service teacher education. She suggested compulsory education, and where the interns or new teachers had to relearn up to 9th grade chemistry, physics, and biology in order to be successful in the primary grades. She found this was important because she came from a higher grade and had to actually study in order to learn and be more comfortable with the content. So this is one thing I'd like to do is review other studies that emphasize pedagogical content knowledge, or PCK, and I've seen that a lot in the literature. Also reviewing studies on the effectiveness of scientists as teachers through alternative certification programs, which we also discussed, who would be more effective, the person majoring in science or the person majoring in education. Then looking at opposing viewpoints that also de-emphasize pedagogical content knowledge. So those would be the alt certs versus your science, biology, chemistry majors. And then to include more quantitative studies, which remember this was a limitation of this study. It was qualitative. So we want more quantitative studies and data to verify the findings. This is the author, or these are the authors of this article. And if you have any questions or comments, please let me know. Thank you.